Next up, we're going to talk about case statements, which can be a little overwhelming when you look at the syntax, but they're incredibly useful, and once you understand how they work, they're very easy to use. We can use case statements to make decisions about values, to have different outcomes based off of values. An example of this would be something like selecting the title and the released year from books. But then this third column is a new column I've made up when I was selecting called genre. And it has different values depending on the value of released year. So for every book released after 2000, it says modern lit. Otherwise, it says 20th century lit for all the 1900 books. 1981, 1945, all that. So the way that this works is we set up a case statement that says when the released year is greater than or equal to 2000, then the corresponding value should be modern lit. Otherwise, use 20th century lit. Now, I just breezed through the syntax there. We're going to type it out, go slowly. And then we have end to end the case. So all of this code right here is used to generate this genre, modern lit or 20th century lit. And in this case, it's just an either or. You either are modern lit or you're 20th century lit. But we can get more complicated, as I'll show you in a moment. But let's try writing this ourselves. So I would start by selecting whatever we want, title, released year. And then our next column we're going to select is going to be the result of a case statement. So I like to do case and end together. And then I'll just say from books just to get that out of the way so I don't forget that. And then in here, between case and end, is where I put my when something, then something clauses. So when released year, if I'm just doing the example from the slides, is greater than or equal to the year 2000, then the corresponding value for this column we're making should be modern lit. And then we write else, that will be our otherwise. We want the value to be what? 20th century lit. Just like that. And then I can give it an alias as genre. If I don't do that, the name of that field is going to be this massive thing. So I'm going to give it an alias there. And let's try running it. And there we go. For all the books greater than, released year greater than or equal to 2000, we get modern lit. Everything in the 90s, 80s, and whatever before 2000 is 20th century lit. So that's our first example of a case statement. Here's another one. This is a little bit more complicated. Here we've got a stock rating, a visualization of how much we have left in stock of each book. Remember, we have a stock quantity. So what I've done here is use the between operator to write a when then. When stock quantity is between 0 and 50, then do a single star. And then we can add a second case of when then. When stock quantity is between 51 and 100, then do this. And we could keep going. So why don't we try recreating that one? We'll do the same thing. Select title and then stock quantity from books. And then our next column after stock quantity, don't forget you need a comma, just as if you were selecting another column, will be a case end. And we'll say when stock quantity is between 0 and, we could even get more detailed. Let's say between 0 and 20. I don't know if we have any that go that low. Between 0 and 20, do we? All right, maybe we'll say between 0 and 40. I don't know. We'll figure out some range. When we're between 0 and 40, then the value for this field will be a single star. And then I'm just going to duplicate this a couple of times. When stock quantity is between 41 and, let's say, these aren't going to be super consistent intervals, but we'll say 70. We'll do 2 stars. And then if you're between 71 and 100, we'll do 3 stars. And then if you're between 101 and 140, then we'll do 4 stars. And then else, we'll do 5 stars. Okay, so it's kind of long definitely. But this is powerful that we can assign these different values conditionally. So 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 stars. Now, it's really important to know with case statements, only one of these is ever going to run. Meaning, if this is true, then all of this is done. Now, if this was false, and this was false, and then this one was true, we end up with 3 stars, and then that's it. Nothing else. We only get one value out. And then, of course, if none of these are true, then we rely on that else. That's the catch-all otherwise. And then I'll call this as, I don't know, what do we call it in the example? Stock, sure. So let's try running this. Oh, and I got to make sure I don't have commas there. These are all going to be for one column. It's an easy mistake to make. Also, if you really want to format this, you could make it look nice and indent it properly. Sure, I click that beautify button. I'm going to paste it in or run it from the workbench or from whatever tool we're using. And here we go. We see 1 star for the namesake. We only have 32 copies. But we have 5 stars for Lincoln and the Bardo because we have 1,000 copies. 2 stars for Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. We have 68 copies. So there's actually another way we could have rewritten this that is even a little more succinct compared to all of these betweens. Because MySQL will go in order evaluating these, is this true? And if it is true, then it's done. If it's not true, then it moves on. Is this one true? No? Okay, how about this one? And it goes in order. We can take advantage of that order and write just a simple less than or greater than and use the order to act as our between logic. So I'll show you what I mean. I could rewrite this like this. Stock quantity is less than or equal to 40. If that's true, then we'll use 1 star. Otherwise, we'll try this next example, which is if you're less than or equal to 70, we'll do 2 stars. Otherwise, less than or equal to, 100? Next, we'll try 100, and I already forgot what it was, 140. So again, this relies on the fact that only one of these is ever going to be true. So if we started here and this is true, great, we're done. But let's say that the value is actually 80. So stock quantity is 80. This is false. But if we make it to this point, MySQL knows for sure that it's not less than 40. So is it less than 70? No. What about here? Is it less than 100? Yes, it's 80. So that means we're between 70 and 100. We've set up this sort of bracketing system that just relies on the order. So it's going to work just the same as the first example. It's just a little less clunky. We don't have to use between X and Y all over the place. So that's pretty much it for case statements. The syntax can be hard to remember, it's clunky, it's a lot, but it's also really powerful. So there's no shame in just looking at the slides or going to the docs, copy and pasting other people's examples and adapting them to your use case. Just remember your when, then pairs go within case and end. And then after when, then, as many as we want, we can have our otherwise clause, the else. And you can have as many when thens as you want, but only one of them is ever going to be, or only one value is what will be returned from the case statement for each row.